Hello Palians and welcome back to my channel. I have been utterly obsessed with the new building blocks, and one of the things that everyone has been doing is trying to build a treehouse. So I wanted to do my kind of own take on it, and hopefully this will help inspire you. Please be very patient with me because this took a very long time, so I will do my best to explain everything that I did, and hopefully it will help you out when it comes to kind of getting your own treehouse build up and running. Don't forget to like and also subscribe, but let's get to the build. So before we even get to the building, there are some things that you're going to need if you want to build your own treehouse. You're going to need the recipes for the building blocks that you can purchase from City Hall. You're then going to need a lot of sapwood planks, and that's for making the building blocks. I've mainly used the wooden ones here, and I have used a lot of kind of floors, the walls. I have also used some blocks and also some of the pillars as well. Not too many of them, but you will definitely need a lot of the floors and the walls as well. I have used a lot of the log furniture in this build as well, particularly the log shelves, which you will see why later. I will also say that you're going to need a variety of different size trees as well. Definitely a couple of the bigger ones just to hide everything a bit, and also a few little smaller ones just so you can kind of decorate around the bottom of your treehouse as well. Okay, so now it's time to get to the building. The first thing you want to do is place down a pillar. This is going to act as your grounding point, so bear that in mind for when it comes to moving things. I then went in with some platforms. I had kind of an idea in my head as to which way I wanted to do this, and for that reason, I kind of built around this big tree. I wanted like a circular bit surrounding it so that I could kind of have it growing out of it. It doesn't quite turn out like that later, but this is kind of what I had in my head for when I was placing the boards down. In hindsight, probably maybe would have been easier planning this out on the ground and then raising it up, but I kind of like to wing it. So that's what we're doing here. We are winging it. I didn't want it to be just one square block as well, so that's why you've kind of got these different areas. This is just me building up my way to get to the platform. I highly recommend having this done because you're going to want to try and work from all the different angles. You can see there what the tree kind of looks like poking through, and it does look nice, but this is part of the reason why I changed my mind about having that later on, because it does make it quite hard to kind of work with. This is me experimenting with the boards, trying to get some shape into the treehouse. However, I wasn't a huge fan of the different kind of boards overlapping on one another. I kind of wanted it to be kind of joined in together, which made me kind of change the direction that I was going with. I decided to get rid of these ones and kind of experiment a bit more with some other blocks. It's up to you. This does work really well, but it's probably not just for me. Just for neatness, I just wasn't a fan of it. And then these aren't important kind of pillars, so these ones you can kind of just adjust and place wherever you want them. But yeah, this is me still trying to experiment with them. This took a lot of time. I will say this now, if you're kind of experimenting around, there's no shame in it. Things will take time. Things do take a lot of time to get right. And I did particularly find getting the pillars on the right kind of spot where I wanted them under the board was a lot of hard work as well. I don't know what it was. It was just kind of hard to get the right angle, kind of hard to make it fit right, but we did get there in the end. And this is where I had the idea to kind of try experimenting with the blocks. So I did two pillars here because I want this to be kind of my corner. I really, in my head, I was like, I want a nice diagonal piece. But yeah, this is kind of how things looked from the starter. There was Chris laughing at me because I said something stupid on stream, but that's another story. And then this is where a moment of genius hit me, because I realized obviously you can attach the blocks onto the pillars themselves. So this gives it the kind of sunken down illusion with the boards. Again, it will take a bit of kind of finessing, but you will get there in the end, and it will kind of fit nicely. So you get half the block kind of poking through the boards and on the platform. The hardest bit isn't getting them lined up with the pillars, it's actually kind of intersecting the other blocks. This, again, to take a lot of trial and error, especially with like making sure they fit properly. I did have the grid on for doing this, and I do think that kind of helps, but flittering between the two modes, pressing Z, going into the free placement, coming out of the grid does take some time. And there we have it. That's the kind of area that I had. And then this is how it looks in the day without the tree. I moved the tree out of the way because it was just causing too much of a headache to decorate with and getting things right. And then this is kind of where it kind of started with the little bit of a balcony idea. Now, I must give full credit to Danny Sky for this. She is a lovely friend, and I toured a little bit of her plot that she had been working on, and she had used these as fencing, and I think they work wonderfully. I did experiment with some other things, but they just weren't working for me, and you can't actually use real fences up here, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but we make do with what we have. The Emberborn pillars, they also don't work if you're thinking about what else can I use. So these were nice, and they also do give a nice little bit of a glow when you look, which is just perfect for a treehouse, I think. And then to hide some of the jaggedy edges, because the balcony is nice and smooth, I decided to go in with some flowers. I love the way that these look up here. It's a tree house, so you can have as many flowers as you like. And because it is also a tree house, I decided to add in some of the kind of log branches, which I think work really nicely. If you didn't know, you can put wall items on the blocks and also on the wall dividers, which is a great feature. And then at the back, because we don't want a wonky treehouse, I did add in some more pillars. These did, again, take a while to finesse and make sure I got them kind of looking even. Maybe I was overthinking them just a bit, but they did take a while. The next step was to pay more attention to the platform. It was a good size, but it's not big enough if I wanted to have like a house on it. So I decided to expand it a bit more, and I did decide to expand out the back, particularly as that's where I kind of want the main house to be. And I also did mess around just giving it this shape. So as you can see here, this is what it looked like, and the three off the back here are where the house is going to be. So I did expand that just a little bit more. And then it was time to start work on the building. This is where I kind of got the idea of having the blocks instead of just using the walls, which yes, that would be the easy option, but I do think that the blocks give you a little bit more freedom as they are slightly smaller. I decided to overhang them off the edge and kind of make them feel a little bit more curved. Again, I'm just not a huge fan of squares, which sounds very strange, but I just didn't want it to feel like a blocky kind of style treehouse. I wanted it to feel a little bit more flowing. I know there will be some block to it. Circles are possible with the blocks, but they just take a lot of work. So I did just try and curve it off here, and I decided to make kind of like a bay window effect, which is why I wanted to use the blocks as well, so that I can have it as like a nice big open shelf area, which I can just fill with clutter, because I love a good old bit of clutter. And I did think that the diagonal windows did add kind of some kind of like different dimension to it as well. And then I kind of got the flowers out because I was like, could I just lean them here? And then I had the idea of actually making like a window box for flowers, so I just thought it'd be nice to be able to look outside of the window and see some flowers there. So to give it a little bit more detail, I added in the pillars as well, just to make it feel like the flowers are actually contained in there, so I can add the flowers onto the blocks and you'll be able to see them. I did of course go for the gardenias because those are my favorites, but yeah, I did stack it up a little bit higher just so that it had that height. It did make it feel a little bit higher, and in hindsight I kind of do wish that I'd made it just a little bit shorter, just to make it feel a little bit more cozy, but I do feel like it gave me a lot of room to work with, which was also good. So here are the gardenias, looking wonderful and bushy and tall. I just love them. I think they're great flowers. Back to the actual structure of the building, and I decided to add in some more walls. I just wanted the walls to be too high so I can actually kind of work around. You might be thinking, but the back is actually taller, but we do find a solution with that thanks to the blocks yet again. So what I did was I just kind of curved around that kind of shape that I had created with the walls. The walls are great, they are wonderful pieces, but The blocks I just think are my favorites at the moment, just a little bit. The last block did take a little bit of work getting in there, but we got there eventually. And then just some more walls on the edges. So it does have that kind of curved look to it. To help with the ceiling, I did add in the kind of floors, and this will allow stuff to hang from them as well, which will come in handy for when I do want to add some lights. And then this was quite an easy bit because everything was just clipping, really easy, didn't have to stress. Love that. And then this part I was like, oh no, we've actually gone a little bit too far, I think, so we'll just delete these just by jumping up repeatedly. And then this is the other side, just replicating again what I've done on the other side. So there is a little bit of symmetry, but I did decide to try and add in the curtain as well, and they do fit, they do work. I did just add in another board just so that I could get it like symmetrical in the middle, and I did find that you had to be out of the grid placement to kind of get it in. And then I was like, I want a little bit of a door, so this is my door. I do add in the Christmas ornament on it later on just to kind of make it feel like an actual door. And then this is like surrounding the edges, so we are going to use a lot of these lights. So if you do decide to copy this technique, make sure that you have a lot of light bulbs crafted, because you do need a lot of them, but it does look effective. I did just have to do a little bit of kind of jiggery pokery near the end just to make sure that it all did kind of fit nicely, and just expand it out so that I could get all the kind of the lights connecting, but it did work in the end, so it is possible. Whilst trying to kind of finish off the front of the main treehouse bit, I did kind of inadvertently create this little shelf. I wish I could say this was intentional, it wasn't, but it did give you the great opportunity to fit yet more flowers in. I did just struggle a little bit with getting the platforms back up there, but it did kind of work out, and I just had to kind of really carefully stand next to it to get the board back in place. But I think it looked quite cool, and I thought what nice way to kind of light this area up by adding in a couple little lanterns. Again, I just think that it's really important to make sure that you light the area, make sure it's nice and glowing. So that's exactly what I did by adding these in. This little roof area didn't stay in the final build, but I did decide to just quickly show you it just in case you were thinking about how to create some roofs for your little kind of gazebo style builds, maybe like pergolas or just even your buildings. You can curve them round. There is a slight little bit of intersection between the different plank designs, but I don't think it's too noticeable, but it is a nice little roof covering nonetheless. I added in yet more of the log branches just to keep on with that kind of woodsy feel, and I do just think they help make it feel just a little bit more whimsical and hides the blocks a little bit as well. On the side of the building, I wasn't sure what to do. I didn't want anything too chunky, so I decided to go with a block pillar combination, which I do think kind of is nice because it lets some light through, and hopefully will allow some leaves through from the trees as well. Please ignore my friends, their favourite pastime was annoying me whilst building. By this point I was thinking again, what can I use to act as like a fencing around the whole of the area? So I decided to try this little bit of experiment with the block slash shelf combo, and I like the way that it looked because it's got that woodsy feel to it, but it also breaks it up a little bit by incorporating some of the stone. And I know maybe stone isn't something you necessarily see in a treehouse, but I think it just looked nice and rustic. The wood kind of shelf worked nicely as it acts as a bit of like a tiny little mini fence. Again, with this, you've got to remember that you are kind of using the pillar to anchor onto the build, so that's what makes it kind of a little bit more awkward, but you've got to kind of get that right position with the next block to make it work. Sometimes you might find that the shelves do kind of intersect and they don't kind of allow you to place them. Definitely being out of grid mode will help you with that. And then this is going to be the kind of main kind of walkway up into the treehouse itself. And I know I said I didn't like this look before with all the kind of stacked planks, but I decided that it was going to be the easiest way to go because the blocks would have been a little bit higher. So I thought to myself, I could just hide this with flowers and hopefully it won't look too bad. It did, again, the intersection of the planks, you've got to be super patient just to try and get it to kind of click right. And then it's the next day again, and this is where I decided to just carry on with that little bit of the brick kind of shelf combo, and I think it does work nicely as a surround. It also gives you ledges to build on. If you didn't think about this, you can add things onto the shelf, you can also add things onto the block, so because they'll be a little bit raised up, you can decorate a little bit more up there. So here is me using the free placement, trying to get things really snug in there, and also making sure it's the right height, because I want the kind of little detail that's actually on the fence to stick over the top. There is a few other fences like this, so you could think about incorporating them as well. Hello Flutterfox, sorry about that. But yeah, this is how this works, and it does, sometimes you just have to go from the outside in as well. This actually didn't stay. It took me ages to do this step way up because I decided I wanted the roof to become like a little balcony, but I just really quickly want to show you this because it is a great technique, but I did decide to go with a different direction. So all I'm doing here is intersecting the soup bowl from the gourmet range, so the gourmet soup bowl, placing it on top of a wood plank and then adding another wood plank on top. Make sure that you're sticking to the middle of this if you decide to do this. Also, you can kind of twist the wood planks as well if you wanted to curve it a bit more, and then you don't need the soup bowl to remain there to give it that height. So you can actually remove the soup bowl and then add it on top again, and keep going and keep going and keep going until you get your desired height. It works great as a staircase. I've been using it lots, but I did just change my mind about it for this build, and I'll show you what I did later on. So here is what it looked like with the staircase complete, and kind of here is what it was kind of like looking like so far, just to give you a little bit of an idea. But as I say, things do change. So here is the now balcony. This is just totally cleared out. I wanted it flat, so I decided to add in some more of the lights as the kind of main balcony bit. And this looked nice. I just wanted to kind of break things up a bit, so I did leave a spot in the middle just so that I can go and add in something later, just more of like an accent piece in the balcony. And then for the corners, I decided that I wanted to use the brick fence technique again, but this time I decided to be clever and kind of move the blocks to me instead of trying to fit them on the outside. So I added in my shelves and then I just rotated them around just to make it easier. I don't normally make things easier for myself. I normally like to go the hard way, but for some reason today I was using my brain, and this is what I came up with, just to rotate them around like that. And it saves so much time. Honestly, I can't imagine the headache if I had tried to do it the other way. And then this was the next real life day, and I came back and looked at it with fresh eyes, and I was like, yep, I'm definitely not feeling those wood planks. So I decided to try the soup bowl technique with the cutting boards, and it did work. If you're wondering, if you're thinking about other ways to create steps, that does work too. However, I still didn't like it. The final option I decided to try was a block and shelf combo to try and make some steps. In hindsight, this is probably the easiest thing I could have done, and it was definitely the quickest thing because you don't need to stack up multiple, and I kind of like the way that it looked in the end. It took me a while to get there, but I was a fan of it, and it was quite easy to kind of line up the blocks against the side of the wall. I did have to kind of adjust the shelves just a bit in the end. I just really wanted to make sure that it worked, and it did work, and I was super happy with that. I didn't want to use the ramps. If you're just thinking, why didn't she just use the ramps? That would have been so easy. I could have done that, but I wanted it to feel more like a kind of a ladder going up. Like, it just has that little bit more of a kind of whimsical feel to it, I think. Maybe, hopefully. Anyway, here is me just bouncing up and down. It is fun to do, trust me. The next thing I had to do was add in some more of the balcony at the top, so I just went in with yet more of these lights. You know, safety first. I really don't want to get sued in Palia because my gold is going down very quick at the moment. I just seem to be spending and spending. But yeah, just more of the lights just to kind of round off everything we've got up here and make the area fully enclosed. I'm so nearly done now with the kind of actual structure of this treehouse, and then I'll be able to get to the fun part. So the final thing I need to do is just cover this right hand side of the treehouse. So again, I'm going to use my little block shelf technique and attach them onto the pillars, and then more shelves. This one was a little bit more finicky, and I think it was because of the placement of the lamp. So just bear that in mind if you are using this design idea, that other items that you have placed down may interfere with the placement of the shelves, which means you can't get them as kind of close together as you want them to be. But again, with some playing around, trying a different angle, this is why I kind of built up this little space, just so that I can actually see where I'm putting things instead of just blindly trying to put it on from the ground floor. And then I have this little round bit here, which again just is calling out for more light. So that's exactly what I did. So just rotated some of these round, and then I think it made me feel better about the overlaps of the floor pieces as well, because I was like, oh, it's just is annoying for me. I'm not normally the sort of person that wants everything super neat, but I don't know why in this game that I do want them so neat all the time. I was going to add another one on the end, but I decided against it. And then here is me putting in some flowers, because we're going for that overgrown feel. So having in these in between the lights just works wonderfully. I really do think that it adds something extra. Okay, so that's out of the way. Time for decorating. The first thing that I did was pop down Chain's telescope thing, because I want it on the balcony there. And then I moved up to the top here onto the roof, and this is where I was like, what should I do with this? I could have it as a nice lounge area, a nice reading area, but I decided, why not have a bath moment? Why not kind of relax up here in a bath, overlook your whole plot? So this is my witchy plot, so everything is kind of gonna have like a little bit of a, I want it to have like a little bit of a rusticy witchy feel to it, which is why I've kind of gone for the berry colorway. If you're wondering what colorway this all is and what everything looks like, this is what I've gone for. So it did take me a lot of customization kits, but this is what we're going to go with. So lots of candles up here. I want it to feel like really nice, relaxing, almost a little bit spa-like. I just think it's just a really cute idea just to have it up here and fit the bath in the balcony bit. And obviously we're going to need lots of plants. I decided to add in some butterflies and insects and stuff, because why not? Pet insects, it can be a thing. And lots of different light ways. I don't want them all to be the same, so I have added in a good like variety of things. Some of these, if you're wondering, they are the makeshift item, like that little tiny dairy clove. It's so cute, but I do wish it was just a little bit bigger. I also decided to add in this, which is another makeshift item. I do love it. I decided not to use that in the berry colorway, and I also did try and add in the washing line up here. It doesn't work. The washing line doesn't go on the building blocks, if you're wondering. I did have a bit of like a moment with the makeshift kind of planter thing, because I was like, I'm not sure if I like it there. So I did kind of play around with like the placement of things. This isn't like a huge space, but I definitely think you can get a lot of stuff up here. It's just, it kind of works out at like, is that 6 in total, 3 by 2 space up here. So just to give you an idea, I just had to think about maths there. I can't do maths. So yeah, so that's how it looks. I do like the planter on a diagonal as well. And I don't know if I showed you this, but I did add the gardenias up on the blocks as well, just to make it feel a little bit more overgrown. But if you didn't want the flowers on the blocks, you could definitely add in some different kind of other bits and bobs. Just lots of clutter up here. And then it's finally coming together. The cozy ladder, I think that works nicely as a little bit of a towel rack. Again, that's another item from the rummage piles. So definitely those items are great. And then flowers. Flowers, of course. I did try and put some in the bathtub, but it didn't really work very well. So I just had the kind of overhang from the ones that I'd put on the platform. So it came together pretty well. Lots of pink, lots of purples. Would you have a bath here? Let me know in the comments. This video is definitely longer than I really anticipated, but we've got a little bit more decorating to do after this. So this is the bathtub area. It's pretty much done. That was me trying to fit in some flowers, but yeah, that's the bathtub area pretty much done up top here. So then I moved down to the balcony, added in yet more flowers. I'm really just going for that overgrown look. And then it's time to build and decorate what's going on inside of the house as well. I did decide to add a chair in for the telescope as well, because waiting for those stars, I bet, is long work. You've got to have well-rested feet. So have a nice little comfy seat there. Again, there's lots of the berry furniture here, but I really do like the way that it pops against the wood, so I'm quite happy with the design choice for going for that colour. And then this is the windowsill that I wanted to decorate. I said I wanted lots of clutter, so that's really what I'm going for here. And again, I did experiment a little bit with some of the furniture choices just to see if they would work. I like the makeshift wardrobe. I think that kind of fits with like the weathered kind of look, as well as the makeshift bed as well. That pillow, we had this conversation with some friends, and I really don't think it's going to be comfortable, but I did want it to feel cozy and comfortable, but I'm not sure that bed was the right choice for that. If you just ignore the pillow, it might be better. And then I did try and add in the lights. Apologies for this, but I just wanted to show you and have a little moan about the fact that the lights should be switched on by default. They should be switched on by default, because it's such a nightmare having to place down items and then having to turn on the lights. It just really frustrates me. So I would love that. If the devs are listening, please allow that to happen. It used to happen, I swear, and then something changed, and then not anymore. So that's a slight just little annoyance that I have. And then yeah, so I did move around some stuff, added in a book. The grimoire, maybe I do add a few too many of these in my builds, but I just love them. I think they're such a nice item, and they do have lots of detail in them as well, which is good. I really did kind of want this to look really nice and cluttered, and I think the flowers, they kind of helped give it some height at the back as well, which is kind of useful. The little candles here, if you're wondering where they're from, they are from the autumn set when we had all the pumpkins. So if you missed out on them, I'm sorry. Hopefully we'll see them again soon when autumn rolls around again. But they are a really nice item, and they're great because you can just kind of fill in areas with them. I did have a few more items here. I did also try the rug. This one didn't work because it kind of intersected the floor, but I did try again later, and I did manage to get it work. So if you're thinking about rugs, sometimes they might be a little bit finicky and kind of intersect the floor, which to me, I don't want it to look that way. So I was very happy when I tried a smaller rug and it did work. A little pink chapper, because why not? Very cute. A little cuddly toy. I could have put him on the bed. I didn't think about putting things on the bed. Maybe I will come back, put something on the bed and hide that awful pillow. It's not awful, it just, the straw poking through just makes me feel like it's not going to be comfortable, and that just puts me off it. A little chapper planter as well. These are cute and I don't use them enough, so I was like, yeah, it's got a purple flower, it can go here, it works wonderfully. And then I do just have a few smaller like bottles and stuff that I just wanted to add in just to give that kind of extra level of clutter. And then this corner I was like, I'm not sure what to do here, but I did add in a mannequin. In hindsight, I'm not sure if I should have recolored it to purple, but I think the kind of natural one that works as well nicely. And then some more books. These books, oh yes, I'm just so glad we have them. And hopefully over time we'll get the books that lay flat as well. If you're an Animal Crossing player, then you'll know what I mean, but there is that item, the stack of books, and that forever has been one of my favorite Animal Crossing items, so I would love to see that in the game. Over here, I still wasn't sure what to do. I added in this little chest. It did look okay, but I think it just wasn't giving it enough height to cover that wall, so I did change it out for the wheelbarrow planter and add in the chest over here, just to make it feel like a little bit more cluttered over here as well. I know this is supposed to be a door, but I have stuff everywhere, so that's how we work. We have lots of clutter everywhere. And then just adding in a few more flowers in here as well, just on the floor, just to fill it up a bit. I did try and put some stuff behind the bed. It didn't quite work. I didn't know whether I was just going for the wrong kind of flowers, and then getting that flower up in that little corner was a bit of hard work as well, so I kind of gave up. My flowers are running low very quickly. When I was doing this, I was like, oh no, I'm running out of the purple and pinks flowers because I have them all over the this plot. The final thing I wanted to do in here as well was just add in some more log branches. So I really did just kind of go in at random and just kind of add them around. I just think it adds just a little bit more of a tree housey feel to your build. So if you're working on a tree house, definitely think about these. Again, they are going to be very expensive with all the sapwood, but they are worth it for sure. The final touch I wanted to add for the little treehouse actual building area was the little Magic Market lantern. So cute. And then over here, I kind of want to keep going with like the knowledge feel. So I decided to add in this little bookshelf from the Dragon Tide. And I decided to put the Syl plushie in the bookshelf because why not have a cute little Syl staring at you? And this side, I was like, oh, maybe we just need a little nice seating area just to eat some snacks. And of course, by snacks, I mean a whole cake because it looks nice. It's cute. And then back over here, I had a little bit of a kind of play around with how I wanted this to look. I did decide to add in a little mini table with some books and a little light just to light up the area. And this chest, I was like, I don't know what to do with it. So we'll just chuck it out of the way for now. This corner I struggled with a lot. So I was like just playing around, trying to mess around with how I wanted things to look. In the end, I moved the cauldron to the left and then I just needed something else to go on here. And then I changed my mind again and decided to put the book there because it made more sense being close to the chair, so it can be like the Book of Constellations or whatever it is. Again, more lighting. I think these builds in Palia look great during the day and the night, but if you have them at night and you can see all the lights glowing, then it just looks just that much better. And I thought for this side, because I was like, I really don't know what to put here, I just decided to add in a little farming area. I know the farm is right below, but I was thinking if this is like someone who lives up here, then why not have your own like fresh veg patch on your porch? What's not to love about that? These ones definitely looked better customized to the berry color. And then it was just a matter of adding in yet more flowers. You guessed it, more flowers, more overgrown, and trying to mix and fit stuff in. I did decide to add flowers all the way around the middle of the balcony, but as I said, I was struggling. So some of the flowers did look a bit same, which I might switch out later. We'll see how it goes. But yes, lots of flowers here. So if you've got this far, you might be thinking, well, how are you actually going to get up to the treehouse? Well, that's a very good question. And honestly, I had been putting it off for so long because of the fiasco I had with the stairs up to the roof. I was like, oh, I'm dreading it. But it wasn't too bad in the end. I just went in with some blocks, built up. I had the tree there just to see how I wanted it. And then I just went along and kind of added in the stairs again. I did kind of mess around a little bit with how close I wanted the actual staircase to the build, and I think definitely having it a little bit shorter was nice. I just wanted it to twist a little bit, and then that gives me a little bit space on the left to add some trees and also maybe do a little bit of a decorative build there as well, just like the entrance into it. But they did kind of make it a bit awkward because I had to snap the box onto the pillar, and then I did add in the diagonal here. I did kind of try and add some pillars or blocks on the side. I wasn't really feeling it, but it felt a little bit narrow, but in hindsight, I don't think it was needed at all. So I did get rid of them eventually. I gave up with that basically. And here it is. You can just jump up like that. So it's kind of smooth. It's kind of smooth ish if you jump. But I do like that. I also just want to say about trees. I wanted a big tree in the middle in the beginning, but as you can see, I did actually add the apple tree underneath. So I will show you in the full tour, but it just looked better than having a full tree there because the full trees are so tall that it just kind of drowned out the whole of the build and you couldn't see anything. So this is the best way to go. And instead, I just added trees around the outside, as you can see, and lots of different kind of heights. So I think we're nearly there. Are you ready for the tour? Okay, so here is the tour. Here is what I did down the bottom. I didn't want to add this to the video because I think I might change it. So I just really quickly chucked down some paths and some items just to make it feel a bit more finished. And then here is the steps up. So we just jump up like this, and then we're up here. And then you have the first balcony here, which is kind of a little bit hidden by the tree, but you can always adjust the placement. And then around here we have that little kind of knowledge area, the main balcony, and then can you see that is the apple tree poking through? And I just think it looks so much better. It's still like a tree, so it feels like you're in a tree, but it's just sunken down there. It's the right height, I think. And then you have that little seating area up there, and then here is the main housey bit, and you can see the flower box poking through, all of the different details here. It's really well lit as well, which I'm quite happy about, because that glow, I keep saying about it, but it does work nicely as well. And then around here is the way up to the roof, so again, just jump up these steps. I'm really happy with this design for the stairs in the end. And then here is my rooftop. This is probably my favorite part of the whole thing. The bath area and just everything, just it feels like a real rooftop, which I'm just very happy with. And yeah, this is all of the stuff up here, which kind of looks good. And then I will give you a full view of what it looks like from a distance as well, just so you get an idea of how it looks. So this, ignore everything around here, but here it is. I don't know if it is overly treehousey, but I think it would have been better if I did have a tree in the middle, but I think it works, and I think it still looks pretty cute. And you can kind of see the pillars coming down and all of the different details of the blocks and things and how overgrown it is. And this is what I was saying about the trees, having lots of different lower trees as well, I think helps as well. So I'm happy with it. It took a very long time. I do hope you like it, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully it inspired you as well. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon with more videos. Bye bye.